Welcome back to Blade Talk Tuesday, and in today's episode we're going to be comparing this knife to this knife. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Mora knives, specifically the Mora HighQ. This has been a constant companion of mine for almost 4 years, I think, if I remember correctly. They stopped making these. They're no longer available. And I always talk about them still because I just keep coming back to it as being one of the best bushcraft knives I've ever found. Not a survival knife, a bushcraft knife. And because they discontinued them, I was looking for other options that I could start recommending. And you know, I've never actually had a standard Mora Companion knife, so I decided to pick one up, carbon steel, check it out, and compare it to the Mora HighQ. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in this episode of Blade Talk Tuesday. Okay, so if I hold them up, you can kind of see that the Mora HighQ, or hopefully you can, has a shorter, narrower blade than the Mora Companion. And that might lend itself better, you know, this shorter, narrower blade. Oh, I'm struggling with that word. The shorter, narrow blade is going to lend itself well to slicing and cutting into very small areas. But I'm wondering if this is going to, you know, having slightly broader, slightly longer blade is going to affect the performance of the Companion. And theoretically, it shouldn't, because they both have a very narrow tip. You know, holding them up over top of each other like this, they kind of have the same exact shape. There's very little difference, but I guess what we can, it's just not working. It's just not working for me. How can you compare two knives sitting on a back bench? I know. Here, let's do this. Okay, let's begin that set. That's a little better. Okay, let's. Yeah, I'm in the field. Feels good. Feels good to be back out here. Sure, it looks better too. You know what? I'm gonna spoil myself. Sit on that. Okay. Wow, it's really actually kind of warm out here. I'll take this off. Must be close to 60 degrees. It's a big change from what we've been having. Okay. So the Mora HighQ is a bushcraft knife of choice for me, mainly because of that narrow blade and super lightweight, very thin. So nice, so nice. So we're going to do some tasks today with these. We're going to do some carving, we're going to do some fire making, and just kind of see how they compare. Get some wood, start carving, because that's really what a bushcraft knife is for. I don't see it as like a knife for butchering and gutting an animal, or although you could, or even, you know, doing really heavy batoning or anything like that. It's specifically for woodworking, carving, fire prep, maybe some food prep, that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to push this knife, or either knife, past what it's designed to do, but we are going to get an idea, at least to see how they compare while working with them, because if this knife is similar to this knife in how it handles things, then this will become my knife of recommendation for anybody looking for a budget option. So I'm going to break all these little branches and save them. Brought my twig stove. Figured that'd be the easiest way to carve up some feather sticks and make ourselves a little fire in there. Not that I couldn't do it on the ground, because the ground is so wet, it's not a problem. Always easier cleanup in the twig stove. Alright, so now we've got the Carbon Companion. This has the factory edge on it. Mora HighQ. The main difference that you're going to notice is this is the edge that I put on it after using it and needing to resharpen it. They both slice wood. I don't know. Maybe it's because I know the HighQ better, but I just feel like it slices finer. So I can get finer curls from it. See that? Real fine curls from that HighQ. Try to do the same thing with this. Yeah, got some fine curls from that. Nothing to be ashamed of, for sure. Alright, so I've got two sticks here, similar length. I'm going to see if I can carve myself a couple figure fours. These are real dry. We're going to do this. Okay, so that didn't take long at all. I've got my 3 pieces. Here's my top. Let's see, I think it goes this way. Here's my top, my base, and my trigger stick. My deadfall right here. It's fine for demonstration purposes. And just like that. So if something comes along, boom, caught, dead, suffocated. Okay, we're gonna have to do this again, this time with the Companion. Having a slightly broader blade, it's a little harder to get into these tight spots like this, but it's not too bad. All right, I've got my 3 pieces. So let's set this up. Goes like that. Goes like that. And this one goes like that. That's my bad. I didn't carve a very good set for the second time. First set worked well, but the second set I just didn't get the angles right. I think it's just a little too crooked. Concept is there, just did not quite execute it properly. Okay, well, not the knife's fault, more my fault. Just was rushing things and didn't cut things really well because I don't want this video to be too awfully long. But yeah, both carved really, really nicely. I would say the HighQ is still a little bit better at carving just because of that thinner blade. It's easier to control. But let's get a fire going. Now, neither knife has a 90-degree spine. So if you're planning on using a ferro rod like this one, you're going to have to bring the dedicated striker, which is fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. So I've got all my little curls on this rock here. Easy to see. I've mixed them up. I don't know which curls are what, but it's pretty obvious they're all very fine. There we go. So where does that leave us with our two knives, with our Mora Companion and our discontinued Mora HighQ? To be quite honest, if you can find a HighQ, I would still recommend getting it. If not, get the Companion. From all my testing and just doing these little woodworking projects, they're pretty much the same. There's not much difference. I mean, yes, the HighQ is a little slimmer and sleeker in the way it slices and carves, but really, unless you had one, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The Companion is just as good, and in some ways better because you can actually get it. The HighQ is pretty much impossible to get. So how could I recommend going out and finding one? I don't want you going on a wild goose chase. And so, in conclusion, get yourself a Companion. Mora's Companion, this is the carbon steel version. I think it's called the MG. They're still available. They have the same handle shape, the handle material. It's all the same, just different colors. And it's only, I did the weights. It's only 0.2, like 0.2 ounces heavier. So really not much heavier than the HighQ. And you're going to be able to slice, you're going to be able to carve, you're going to be able to carry that comfortably all your time in the outdoors without even thinking about it. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your experiences with the Mora. Do you have a Companion? Do you have a HighQ? Which do you prefer? And if you don't have a HighQ, what would you get instead of that? I know there's other options. Maybe I'll poke around and see if I can do a comparison video at some point or another of these budget Scandinavian style knives. So I'm going to keep heating up my water, make myself a cup of tea, and enjoy the outdoors. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.